welcome. We are back we're here for another Bark a Lot. I have hidden my show notes already. It is early because what I was doing, so I've been sitting here for a little while. That's all been great. That's not going to work for me, but I'll fix it later. And I was trying to get timestamps. You know, can I find timestamps in 15 minutes? Yes, I can. How? One, when YouTube actually has a transcript, that is very helpful. And two, I have to say that when I am doing the TLDR of court like this, I'm listening to it / watching it in real time over on Emily D. Baker's channel. And then as days and stuff goes on, because there's always lag time, then I'll catch up on Lawyer You Know and Runkle and things like that. What I'm not doing that I should be doing is getting timestamps. So what I do when I sit down, a little behind the scenes here for everybody tonight, what I end up doing as I'm trying to pull together the TLDR show notes is I end up going over because the Emily D. Baker team is amazing, and so I can pull up the timestamps. I will get last week's timestamp soon, I promise. But I pull up their timestamps, and then that reminds me what we saw that day. And then because the YouTube community is amazing, then I bounce over to Top Mark Media where I can then pull up the transcript and then go, okay, it was on this day and I need to find this bit. So little behind the scenes for how I end up doing this. So welcome. Let me know where you're coming in from, what you're sipping on this evening. Next week, I promise next week we will get back to, well, maybe next week. It might be the week after, but I think next week we will get back to the dumpster fire that is the world at the moment, because there's a lot of stuff that we need to catch up on. There's a lot of stuff we need to look at. But truly, I don't know how you guys feel. For me, listening to a listening to a case, gavel to gavel, with a judge who plays by the rules and doesn't let people deviate from the rules and is very calm and all of that, it gives me a sense of grounding where when I turn on the news, there's 47 things to look at and none of them are good. So I always get a little bit nervous about that. I'm also going to say that we do have wind here kicking up at the moment. I think we're fine, but I saw a little blip. So if I randomly disappear, it's that, and we'll catch up at some other point. I think we'll be fine, but just an FYI. So we can catch up with the dumpster fire later. There's all sorts of things happening. What I am going to say before I roll the intro and before we do a little bit of a recap of where we're at with this particular case is, if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling like everything is just insanity, couple of things to remember. The big thing is community, community, community. It is so imperative to work on that, to build that. It's one of the reasons why I do this show every week is for the community of it. The other thing is and I know this is sort of counterintuitive, but when it seems like everything is just chaos, while in many ways it is, it's flailing, right? Things are not going their way. Everything is going sideways. So if we can gather together and know where our plan is going to be, that is that is key. We will get into bigger things of that. We'll take a look at other things. Let me know if there are, because there's always a fire hose of news. So let me know what you want to focus on when we come out of trial. I mean, with the caveat that we could turn on the news tomorrow and something else could be going on. But if there is a particular story, case, something that is in the mix, let me know if that's top of mind and I will focus on that. We will come back to that. Maybe next week, maybe not. It's going to depend on how closing arguments go next week or on Monday, because my guess is that I am going to want to sit down next week and really parse out a lot of the closing arguments, because openings, closings in a court case, those are always, it's the first thing the jury hears and it's the last thing the jury hears. And then they get to go back and sit with all the evidence that was admitted. So I suspect that I'm going to, they gave great openings. I'm very curious to hear what their closings are tomorrow. So that is where we are at. If you are new to the channel, hi, welcome. I'm Aurora. And I'm actually going to roll the intro because, well, that tells you who I am. And while I'm doing that, do all the YouTubey things. Because look at me, I remembered before we got to the end of the show. Do all the YouTube things, do the like, subscribe, make the algorithm, give the algorithm something. And oh wow, my brain just buffered in real time. Sorry about that, guys. No, I'm gonna roll the intro while I'm buffering, and then we'll do a quick little recap and get into it. Get into week 3. Welcome to Bark a Lot with the Aurora H. White. I'm a legal biller by trade, opinionated law and politics nerd by default. I'm here to break down the political, pop culture, and court headlines that we're all talking about. We value facts, thoughtful discussion, and salty language, so whether you're a fellow law nerd, a political junkie, or just looking for a little hope in today's crazy world, you're in the right place. Tap that subscribe button, pull up your soapbox, and let's go. Let's go. Let's go back to court. Okay. So, let me get my thoughts organized here. I am going to pull up some timestamps. I do have some video to pull up. Because actually one part of this I missed. I mean, I listened to this while I'm working and stuff, so the likelihood is that I was probably like, "Oh, I can't pay attention to this right now. I need to pay attention to other things." And then I never went back to it. So, road so far. We are in week 3 of the Kouri Richins trial. If you are just joining us with this, who is Kouri Richins? What is this trial? And what are we looking at? So Kouri Richins is accused of murdering her husband with fentanyl. And yeah, that is the allegation. There is also, well, that is allegation number 1. There are several things that are being charged here. The first thing is the aggravated murder charge. I should say M because the YouTube algorithm. But I probably won't because habits. There is also an attempted murder charge for February the 14th, where she is accused of effectively drugging an egg sandwich and giving it to her husband and having that basically not work. And then there are insurance fraud charges as well. There's also a whole mess of civil litigation happening. So for the TLDR of week 1 and 2, oh, Aurora, you did not make a playlist. You should do that. I will do that. I will make a playlist. for week 1 and week 2 so that you can go catch up on those. One of them is time-stamped already, one of them is not. So we will go ahead and do that. In week 3, the basic synopsis, we will start with day 10 of trial, which is Monday. And I am actually going to start by pulling up the supposed celebration of life video. It was pretty early on in the day. So this is one of the pieces of evidence that the prosecution brought in. This is the day after it was. So Eric Richins was pronounced dead early in the morning on March 4th. I believe this celebration of life gathering was on March 5th. Now, everybody grieves in their own way. Unfortunately, I have had the experience of having people my age pass. Granted, I haven't been super close to a ton of folks who have died suddenly. Unfortunately, the folks closest to me that I am the most familiar with, it was long illness. I am very familiar with and pro the whole Irish wake, bring some laughter to that. Let me know what you think of this, because when I was getting the timestamp and I pulled it up, I was like, whoa, I missed that. I would have remembered that. So let me see if I can pull it up and we will take a look at this one together, because it was it was different. All right, let me double check my timestamps, guys. I'm sorry. I was doing too many. Okay, that is the correct timestamp. Okay, we should be good. If I can get over here to hit play.
Okay, ready?
Okay, I'm getting that free.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers. Yep, come back in the corner with us. There we go.
Richard.
Yep.
And they're all like my age, in case you're wondering. They're all maybe a little younger than me. Kouri Richins is in the corner.
You're Afghanistan.
Not on screen right now. That's Kouri in the corner.
You're an Afghanistan warrior.
So that was a celebration of life party that they had. So I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about that. I know how I feel about the shotgunning of beers in front of that style of things in front of small children. That is my own personal opinion. But these are also kids who have just, I think that's Kouri and Eric's kids in there. So let me know what you think. For me, it feels weird. For me, that felt weird, which is why the prosecution brought it in. So this was early in that. This was one of the very first things that they brought in on Monday morning last week. Then we heard some testimony from Eric Richins' business partner, Kouri Wright. We heard things like Kouri Richins continued to get a paycheck right after Eric died because they didn't want her to be suddenly without any income, which I thought was a very kind gesture. The defense tried an interesting tactic with trying to bring in some doubt, because their job is just to sow doubt with the jurors, right? because the way the law works is if you have two reasonable options and one leads to guilt and one leads to not guilt, you have to choose the one that leads to not guilt, at least in theory. So they got talking about the high schoolers and back when Eric and his business partner Cody were in high school, that some of the kids were taking Red Devils. Any guesses as to what the Red Devils turned out to be? Because I was like, high school, late 90s, early 2000s. I'll bet I know what the Red Devils were. Going back, mom says it is definitely seems weird for the day after a death. Aren't you normally still dealing with Yep. Hospitals, coroners, lawyers, and who knows what all else. Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing is, I mean, here's where I struggle myself with that video, and here's where I would now this is actually a really good time for me to say to anybody watching, I am not unbiased. I have followed this trial since she was in custody. So I could not be a juror on this case. I know way more than the jury has seen. And for me, I was at guilty beyond reasonable doubt with a couple of facts that were brought out early on in the case. So I've been there the whole time. So I just want to preface it with that. But for me, and I know everybody handles grief differently, but I imagine it's super confusing for those kids. And that kind of environment on top of all of the other confusion, I feel like it would lead to more confusion. And I don't know as I would be able to process what had even just happened. Like even some of the quote unquote Irish wakes I've been to where it is joy and you are sharing happy stories and there is laughter. There is a heaviness to it still. 'Cause you miss the person. 'Cause there's still that hole there that feels very physical. As opposed to a year later where it doesn't feel quite so intense. Now, maybe that's just me, maybe that's just how I operate, but if I took a look at that video and nobody told me what the timing was, I would have not put it so close to the decedent's death. I don't know. It's a tough call. It's a tough call for me. It's a little odd. After that little interlude, I'm going to circle back to the Red Devils that the defense was trying to make out as something super nefarious. Yes, I know I said that wrong. If you're brand new here and you didn't watch the Karen Reed trial, nefarious came from that and it stuck. So Red Devils. Red Devils are Sudafed. That's what the prosecution managed to get out there was the Red Devils were Sudafed. So I'm like, yeah, that's not a thing. Like it could be, but not in that case. Yeah. Regarding that video again, that scene seemed there was nothing alluding to the death, not even any red eyes. Yeah. And for the widow to be laughing the way she was. The prosecution has a lot of really great evidence. So up to and including their handwriting expert, which was also on day 10. Now, I have to be honest, the handwriting expert did not bring a whole lot of much to it other than we know that Eric didn't sign his own name to the life insurance policy. I think we kind of knew that, but the prosecution had to get in a handwriting expert that said, no, wasn't him. Couldn't say who it was for anybody else either, but there was that. Then after that, we heard the full 911 call because Kouri called 911 to have them come out and alert them that Eric had passed. I am not going to pull up the full 911 call. If you want to listen to that, it is on several other channels. It is excellent evidence. While Kouri does claim she was doing CPR, I can tell you right now from my listening to that 911 call, I would go back and listen to it. CPR, I am not trained in CPR. I should be. I am not trained in CPR. I do know that CPR is not gentle. So CPR can, if you're doing CPR right, you can crack ribs. And that, if you are a small-ish human and you are doing CPR on a larger human or any other person, really, there will be extraneous sounds that I expect would be making. There would be a shortness of breath. There would be things like that. Also, if you're trying to haul somebody off of a bed so that you can get them on the floor so that you can administer CPR. I know there's a lot of phones that cut out a lot of noise. I was not hearing anything in that call that indicated that CPR was happening. And all of the officers and EMTs have already testified that CPR had not been done before they got there. So, but the defense doing their job was trying to say that Kouri said that she had done CPR, therefore CPR was done. They have to be zealous advocates, even if it's annoying. Because boy, have they had some annoying arguments. So we had the full 911 call. Then we heard from Investigator Woody. And here's what I took away from Investigator Woody. She was there again, foundational witness to get some key information in. I'm a pet person, in case you couldn't tell. And so when she said that she transferred to the K9 unit, most of the internet just wanted to know what her dog's name was. Was her dog's name Buzz? Could we see a picture of the pupper? And we just had a lot more questions about her as K9 unit and a lot less questions about the evidence. The jury probably took better notes and made better choices with which mental rabbit holes they were falling down, because juries. So then after Investigator Woody, we had Todd Gabler, who was the private investigator hired by the family per the estate attorney's suggestion. I think I followed all of that right. Now, Mr. Gabler was somebody that the internet seemed to either loved him, I thought he was great, or be very annoyed by him. I will say this, Mr. Gabler, should you come across this, I do billing for a law firm as my day job. Sir, you are so vastly undercharging for your services. Like, I appreciate that you don't need what you can get, but you have you have angered the accountants. We are displeased at your choices, and based on the evidence that you got in the testimony that you gave, um, you are charging far too little, and I'm here for a sliding scale. You wanna do a sliding scale, do a sliding scale, but, good sir, no, no, 250 an hour is not what y no. Nope, that is way too low. That is way too low. So, please raise your prices. You seem really good at what you do. I think you should charge more. I think you should charge more. Um, with that, where am I at? I'm looking at my notes. Okay. So, that was day 10. That was Monday, day 10. I'm going to swoop. We are then going to go to Tuesday, day 11, which was an itty bitty day. Swoop. Where's my swoop? Berkey swoop. I have the right one. I just haven't uploaded it yet because I forget until I hear the bark. Okay, Tuesday. Tuesday turned into a surprise short day because the defense was fighting to keep things out, as is their job. And then they fought some more. And then they fought some more. And then the judge had to go look at case law. And then they fought some more. And then the defense asked for, I believe it was a 2-day continuance. And the judge went, no. And they said, can we have a 1-day continuance? And he said, how about half a day? Now, mind you, the stuff that they were fighting over is all stuff that they fought over in pre-trial motions. They were just relitigating things that had already been litigated. I was annoyed. I was big annoyed. But I had other things to do, so it was fine. So that was Tuesday. So with that, I am going to swoop again, and then well then we're gonna have a little. Then I'm gonna do a little pause to sponsor me. All right, before we get into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because that has a lot more video and a lot more stuff going on, and then we can go through and wrap everything up as we go. But I want to take a moment because we are, to quote Alex Perlman, I think it was, we are in a capitalist hellscape, and I'm a small business, and per the advice of some folks I am working with, I went and designed some merch. So I am wearing my Be Well, Do Good Bark-a-Lot hoodie. This one is a little cropped hoodie. I love it so much. I love this so much. I've got the Bark-a-Lot over here, and I've got my information over here. We also, I did not disappear. We also have the Barks-a-Lot Media zip up hoodie, which I love. This is all available on barksalotmedia.com. If you go there, you see the thing you like, you click on it, it's going to bring you right to the Bark-a-Lot shop. And this is, wait, show the back, Aurora. The back is the same thing. This is first run. We've got hats. We've got these guys. Now, it's all print to order, so I'm going to say that it's probably going to take a little bit longer given, where we are at with crazy things going on in the world. But the stuff that I have ordered in as samples, I like the quality so far. They're super easy to wash. I am going to be looking later down the road for things that do not have tags. If you're a tag person, I'm sorry. Everything that I found so far does have tags. I look to fix that in the future, but at least for right now, we've got all this fun stuff. So if you want to get a cool new hoodie with our Be Well Do Good Bark a Lot phrasing on there. It's always fun. Anytime you're a part of one of these communities, online communities, one of my favorite things is when you spot somebody's merch and then you can strike up a conversation. So it's a great way to turn strangers into friends and community. And I love that. So, and it helps the channel, it helps the business, and because we have big plans over here at Bark a Lot. Barks a lot, bark a lot, all of the barking and all of the lots. So that is that. And then swoop. Swoop, sip, and now we are moving on to day 12, Wednesday. So, day 12, they started with housekeeping because of the day before, because of the surprise day Tuesday, which was a lot of, and there was even more arguing again around Carmen Lauber being recalled. She was the go-between for the drug purchases. And so she got recalled so that the defense could cross her some more. All of this seems to make much more sense in hindsight, but at the time it was confusing as all get out. And then, all right, this is one. So one of the key facts in this case, and something that is also part of other litigation, is that Kouri Richins wrote a children's book about grief. And so there are some lawsuits in and around that. But what we saw on Wednesday for some evidence is we saw bits of the children's book. We saw images of Kouri Richins on a local morning news program promoting the book. And Kouri had always made it seem like she had been invited onto that show because of the book, but really there was a form that you could fill out that would say for local businesses and things like that, where you could fill out this form and they would decide if they wanted to have you on or not. So, like most of the things that have come in, Kouri says one thing and reality and documentation indicates something else. That seems to be a theme throughout all of this. But there were some key moments on Wednesday that we do need to go over. The first one I'm going to pull up. I said, all right. Sometimes, no, share screen. Day 12. Share. All right, let's make this big screen. Let's see if I am. Wait, am I on the. I need the correct notes. Day 12. Yes. All right. We are not. That can't be correct. Wait, where are we? No. Is this the right one? We're going to find out if this is the right one, guys. I think it is. It should be. Am I in the right spot? But my timestamps say something different. We're going to see.
Detective, is this an accurate depiction of a transcript of a second August 22nd, 2023 phone call between Kouri Richins and this time?
Yep, my timestamp was probably correct, and this was probably wrong because that was jail calls. So let us go backwards. Let us go backwards in time. Oh, right. I see what I did. Sometimes I thought I had it all queued up and I was wrong. Okay. Don't know why. Almost there. There we go. This is better. Close enough.
Thank you. Towards the end of March 2023, did the Summit County Sheriff's Office receive an anonymous Amazon delivery of the book?
Yes. Package showed up from Amazon with a copy of the book and also a little standard sticker that you can leave a personalized message on with a gift when you send something.
You heard that right. The children's book was sent to the sheriff's office that was investigating with a note.
Scott, 8-20, please. Is this an accurate depiction of a scan of the cover of the book that the Summit County Sheriff's Office received along with the message that accompanied it?
Yes, when we received this, evidence technicians scanned the cover of the book and then the note that came with it as well, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, the state moves to admit and publish 8-20.
Just 401 and 403, Your Honor.
Okay, overruled. State's Exhibit 8-20 is admitted.
So this is we will pause it here. So this is the book that she wrote. Actually, we learned on this day that I believe it was this day that she had this book ghost written. So she didn't even write the book. And the note that got sent to the sheriff's office was, it reads, "There are two sides to every story. This is the true Kouri, a devoted wife and adoring mother. Thought you should know, from Anonymous." You really thought they weren't going to research that? Subpoena Amazon? Get the information they needed? You really thought that? Yeah. Sure. So that was a moment in court. Turns out it was Kouri Richins' mom that sent it. Yeah, that was a choice. That was a choice. So we found that out shortly after that. We found out that she had the book ghostwritten. Then there were more text messages between Eric and Kouri near around the day that Eric passed away. Then there were jail calls. I'm not going to go into the jail calls. I'm not going to track all of that down because let's just say they know they're being recorded. It did not help the defense case to hear some of those jail calls. A lot of the jail calls are between Kouri and her family. There's not a whole lot of "I'm innocent." There's a whole lot of "can you believe the story that they're coming up with?" Which I get, but they didn't land great for me. The orange notebook that I reference, I think I will actually skip that because we're getting close to the end here, but I'm gonna skip the orange notebook. It was effectively a diary, but written clearly much later. Let me sum up. It was a lot more self-snitching because she seems really good at the self-snitching part. What we are going to pull up is the walk the dog letter. This is, so how, what can I do? Okay, so we're going to, as I understand it, The walk the dog letter was written while Kouri Richins was in custody. And there was a video jail call, or she was with her mom at the jail, something like that. And the walk the dog letter that we'll look at in a minute is something that she is working on, and she is holding up the pages of the walk the dog letter, and she is like, here's the page, look at it, and then putting it down. Well, that's a thing that the police and the bailiffs and everything, they are going to notice that, and then they're going to be like, what was that? What was she holding up? We want to see it. There have been claims that this is a story, that she's writing a novel, that, all that stuff. And yeah, okay, sure. Nope. Why did I do that to myself? I don't know. I did that to myself. All right, let me find my timestamp. Do I have all these things ready to go so I can click a button? No, that would be boring. And also make my life probably much, much easier. Okay, where are we at here? This is not the right day. Nope. We need to pull this down because that's the wrong day. Come on, Aurora. Get it together. Share screen. Choose correct screen. There we go. Correct screen. It only took me a minute. All right. And you know what I did? I hid my timestamp. Batting 1,000 tonight. Okay. The walk the dog letter. Let's take a look at this. If you have been in my orbit, you have heard the walk the dog letter. You've heard all about it. You're probably really tired of it because I have talked about it a lot. All right. No, mouse, do not fight me. Back it up. No, back it. Oh, wow. My mouse and computer are just fighting me tonight. No. There we go. Took me long enough. All right.
Page 1. Walk the dog, but take vague notes so you remember. Here is what I'm thinking, but you have to talk to Ronnie. He would probably have to testify to this, but it's super short, not a lot to it. He will need to tell Sky at the meeting next week. Upon information and belief, just like they say, a year prior to Eric's death,
Sky, by the way, is her first attorney.
Ronnie was over watching football one Sunday, and Eric and Ronnie were chatting about Eric's Mexico trips. Eric told Ronnie he gets pain pills and fentanyl from Mexico from the workers at the ranch. Not to tell me because I would get mad, because I always said he just gets high every night and won't help take care of the kids. There are pictures in my phone of Eric passed out on the floor or in the chair. Ronnie should have texts from Eric talking about getting high as well. Eric told Ronnie he keeps them in an allergy pill bottle in his work truck, so I wouldn't find them. Ronnie never told me about the conversation. Eric finally told me and asked if Carmen could get him some. Eric never wanted anyone to know he had an issue, especially get caught. He always wanted Kouri to go down for him.
The third person, when she's the one writing this, is odd to me. Also, none of this tracks with any of my life experiences. Let me know what you think.
When they traveled, Eric would put his drugs in Kouri's bag at the airlines right before they boarded. That way, if they were caught, Kouri got in trouble, not him. Once they got to wherever they were going, Eric would pull the drugs out of her bag and it would cause a huge fight. She was pissed he would risk her going to jail for his drug use. He just would laugh about it. Eric couldn't ruin his image that he had drug issues, so he would do whatever he had to. Kouri has never done any type of pills, didn't like them. Rarely would she consume THC, only if Eric begged her because it was a special occasion.
This was disputed by her own text messages back and forth with Eric earlier in the day. Also, yeah.
Reword this however he needs to make the point. Just include it all. The connection has to be made with Mexico and drugs. Ronnie will have the messages to prove Eric confided in him about getting high. It can be short and to the point, but has to be done. Upon information and belief, LOL. They never found pain pills or fentanyl in my house because he hid it in allergy bottle in work truck. And Cody emptied out work truck within a week. So they were never found.
Okay. This is one of those spots where I got to beyond reasonable doubt of guilt within moments, because among the facts of the case that are a big deal for me, there was none of the drugs that ended up killing him, that ended up killing Kouri Richins, were found in the house the day of. There was a lot of it in his system, but none of these things were found in the house the day of. And defense, correctly, is trying to make it seem like this was an intentional or an accidental overdose that he did to himself. Here's my problem with that. I've known a fair number of people who have struggled with various addictions. There's never nothing in the house. The only time there is nothing in the house is when rehab has been had and someone else has gone through and cleaned everything up. Now, maybe somebody has different experiences. Everybody's got different experiences. For me, I've never heard of anybody mid-addiction with zero stash, or with only one stash that everybody knows about. That has not been my experience. So this is a stretch for me. But, all right, let me continue. Because we ain't done
When
yet.
you talk to Ronnie about this, meet up with him in person. I worry sometimes your house and phone are bugged. Maybe drive down to SL and meet him after work without Bree. Tell Ronnie don't overanalyze it. It was a quick 2-minute conversation, LOL. Tell him I need him to do this. Bring me home and then we will get those damn bitches. Also, please text Lotto.
Those damn bitches seem to be her sisters-in-law.
Or call. Tell him do not text me anything about us doing things together ever. Like church, skiing, trips, nothing that puts us together. It doesn't look good. We're so close to the end, let's push through. Have the conversation with Ronnie before he meets with Sky. Then tell him to tell Sky at the meeting about the conversation. Hang in there, we're almost there. Love you to the moon. Take vague notes of all this so you remember before you walk the dog.
Yeah, that was the walk the dog letter. Well, the redacted walk the dog letter. There was more to the walk the dog letter. But that was all that was allowed to be shown to the jury. So that was very close to the end of evidence. Let me swoop. I need to swoop because that is the end of the day on Wednesday. That is the end of day 12. So let us swoop to day 13. Swoop. All right, day 13. We had lots and lots of legal arguments around Detective O'Driscoll's testimony. That was the man you just saw on the stand reading the walk the dog letter. The defense basically wants to bust open a whole lot of doors, but also not have the prosecution walk through them. Judge M was like, yeah, no, that's not what we're doing here. So there was a lot of argument about that. I have to say, Detective O'Driscoll I get why he was the last witness because he's the one that needed to bring in the walk the dog letter and the jail calls. But he kind of sucked as a witness, to be perfectly honest. He was not a great witness. Did not love him on the stand. There was a lot of I don't recall, I can't remember, which is fine, but also you're the lead investigator on the case, so maybe don't do that. Maybe do your homework before you go to the stand. But there was hang on. I just buffered in real time because I tried to read my own note and then my brain interrupted trying to read the note, my show note. Yeah, I know last week I could not remember what day it was. All right, let me see. Right. After all of the legal arguments and legal battles of no, you can't use it as a sword and a shield. Just if it's a sword, it gets to be a sword for everybody. Legal arguments. Defense is big mad about that, but I think they knew it was coming. And the prosecution says, okay, we don't need to get out in front of anything else. We rest. So then the decision is made to rest in front of the jury. But before they rest, we have heard all about the gifts. Now, I know, and it has happened all trial with Miss Nestor saying, is it GIF or is it GIF? I have read several things on the internet that the creator of GIFs says it's GIF. I refuse to call it a GIF because it stands for graphics interface something. Graphics is a hard G, my friends. So I don't really care if it's an acronym and it's a hard G in the acronym, it's a GIF. You can come at me if you want. I stand by that. Either way, just make a choice and stick with it. It's easier. But so they go through this battle of these gifts that are pulled up on Kouri Richins' phone. We saw them in opening statements. One is Jeff Daniels, I think, from Dumb and Dumber with money all over his face. The second one is from House of Cards, and it says idiots everywhere. And the third one is Trump with I'm rich. These were all pulled up on Kouri Richins' phone about the time that Eric is being wheeled out by the EMTs. So it's a bad look, along with her Google searches and stuff. But this moment here is it's pretty excellently petty, if I do say so myself. If I pull up the right one. All right, day 13. We are on day 13, right? Yeah, day 13, Thursday. Am I at the right spot? Am I at the right spot? Yes. Yes, I am. Full screen. This is just Prosecutor Bloodworth going full petty, because earlier, before all of this, Attorney Nestor had said, "Oh, and this Kevin Spacey one, that's from a TV show, right?" Said, and Detective O'Driscoll says yes. So what we are about to witness is just, honestly, I think Bloodworth being petty and sneaking it in. Was it EDB? One of the lawyers I watched made a comment that they thought, which now makes sense, that Bloodworth did this so that he could use this in his closing. Let's take a look.
The GIF image, the one with Kevin Spacey that says idiots, idiots everywhere. Is that from the TV show House of Cards?
From my understanding, yes.
Thank you.
If that, no, mouse, come here. If I missed the idiots everywhere. Is that from House of Cards? If he uses that, if Bloodworth uses that in his closing, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, no notes. Because that is well played, sir. Just so well played. I have thoroughly enjoyed Bloodworth's lawyering. It's also been highly entertaining that he is clearly a Leonard, as am I. And it has turned into certain moments. The chat over there just says hi to so yeah. But then we're gonna pull up a moment where I'm pretty sure you heard everybody buffer at the same time, which is the defense. So we get through all of this, the state rests. The decision is made that they are going to rest in front of the jury, which is wise, because then the jury can see that the state has rested their case. They're not just taking the judge's word for it. Yeah. No. Let us. All right, let me zoom to where that goes down. I'll get there. No, too far. Not far enough. All right, close enough. Let's play.
500139. State's counsel and defense counsel are present. Ms. Richins is present.
We're back from lunch.
Mr. Bloodworth, would you like me just to tell the jury when they come back in that the state has rested?
Right. So they have gone to lunch. They have had like 90 minutes to meet, confer, have these discussions. I'm just saying.
Yes, so that's fine.
Okay, will do. Ms. Lewis, Ms. Nestor, what's the plan?
Ready to go.
Who's defense counsel's first witness?
Oh. Clear, just a minute.
Yeah.
We have
They
a couple of
had
options.
90
Understood.
minutes to discuss this at lunch. I'm leaving it in real time so that you can get a sense of whatever that he went through on this guy. What's happening? What's happening? Everybody's chit-chatting.
Your Honor, actually, at this time, the defense intends to rest.
We
So
should
they're
probably do
not
that in
putting on
front
a
of the
case.
jury, yes.
Right? I
Okay.
agree.
I just want to make sure you've consulted with your client about this.
Absolutely.
Is now an appropriate time to get a waiver of Ms. Richins' right to testify on the
Yes.
record?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Okay.
I'm going to pause this here because the right to testify is an important right. You have the right to testify. You have the right to not. You have the right to keep your trap shut the entire time. The way our court system is set up, not only, I shouldn't begin myself before we go back to court for a minute, but so the way our system is set up, in theory, it is designed to err on the side of the defendant. That means the defendant is not under any obligation to even put on a case. So this is perfectly fine for them to do because at the end of the day, it should be the prosecution that proves their case. If the prosecution cannot prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt all by themselves, all by themselves, with the defense not putting any case on whatsoever, that is how it should work. The defense's job and their only job is, to advocate for their client, to poke holes in the prosecution's case. They are under zero requirement to put on a case of their own. So if you ever find yourself on jury duty, that is the requirement. You do not hold it against the defense for not putting on a case. In this particular case, with this particular set of facts, honestly, I think the defense team made the correct choice here because there's not a whole lot that they can do and stay within with the facts that those of us who have absorbed way too many facts of this case that we know the facts are bad. And I think any of the witnesses that they would call, I think they're wise not to have them subject to cross-examination by the prosecution because I don't know as it would go real well for them. So that's my little sidebar with that. Back to the colloquy, because I think this is super important for folks to see. It looks different in every jurisdiction, but you have the right to get on the stand and testify. You have the right as a defendant not to. But if you choose not to, whichever you choose, there is a colloquy that happens with the judge that says, basically, you are doing this of your own free will. Nobody is forcing you to do this, and you are not under any undue influence.
You've consulted with Ms. Richins about or advised Ms. Richins about her
I hit the
right
wrong
to
button and we
testify,
went back
correct?
a minute.
Telling.
Sorry.
Okay. Ms. Richins, may I ask you 2 direct questions?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have the right to testify at trial?
Yes, I do.
Are you following your attorney's advice and waiving your right to testify at trial?
Yes, I am.
I accept your waiver. I find it's knowing and voluntary.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything further on the record, Ms. Lewis?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Bloodworth,
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, Judge.
how would you propose we proceed from here for the rest of today?
I'm going to pause here and embiggen myself because what they end up doing, the jury comes back in, the jury gets basically told that they are going to be on their own until, sorry, I am fighting with my system over here. So the jury basically gets told that they are going to be on their own in the wild. Oh my goodness, that would be crazy to walk in, get hit with, everybody rest. So you're like, deliberations. No, because they need a few days, because this all happened so fast. Nobody was expecting defense to not put on a case. So Friday, jury is let go. Jury has said, you're on your own. Have a nice long weekend. Friday, the attorneys. So Friday, day 14. Oh, I should swoop. We're on to Friday, day 14. Friday, day 14. If you are a law nerd, if you want, truly, even if you're not, but you have never sat through jury instruction before, or you have been called to a jury, but you have no idea what you're in for, Friday is the day for you. For most people, you check out on Friday. It's super boring. It's super niggly and nitpicky, because basically what happens for jury instruction day, it's jury instruction and verdict form. So at some point during a trial, what will happen is the judge and all of the attorneys gather together, because what they need to do is they need to take the model jury instructions from their jurisdiction, and they need to go through them and parse out how they should be presented to the jury of this case, so that those jury instructions pertain to the facts of that particular case. Same with the verdict form. So it's super careful, it's super niggly. And yes, at one point on Friday, I think now in my note, I wrote 27 minutes on about the word or and the meaning of the word or, as opposed to and or. It I wrote 27 minutes. It honestly could have been longer. I do not know, but there was quite literally it was not a 2-minute argument over that word, its placement, and what it meant for the jury instruction. So when I say nitpicky and niggly, this is why, unless you are somebody like me, that I find this immensely fascinating, because there's all sorts of case law being cited and people going back and forth, and interpretation of case laws read by this attorney this way and this attorney this way and the judge this way. And then other arguments come in, and then the judge takes a break and goes and looks at case law and comes back and makes a ruling. I appreciate the care that goes into it, though, because on Monday, closing arguments will be delivered. And then the worst part of the day, I think, for the judge is going to be when he tells the alternate jurors that they are alternates. So anytime a jury is impaneled, again, if you ever get called for jury duty, just keep this in the back of your head, because boy, would it suck on a case like this. But anytime you get called for jury duty, you may be one of the primary jurors. You may be listed as an alternate. Different jurisdictions handle it differently. Sometimes the alternates are known by the judge or other court members the entire time. Other times they are chosen right before everybody goes back to deliberate. I think in Massachusetts, they're chosen right before deliberations, so that nobody is aware. Sometimes it's a random thing. Sometimes it's just if you sit in seat. I think I saw one where, I apologize, my nose is super itchy. I think, was it the Murdoch jurisdiction? I don't know. There was one jurisdiction where I could swear it was like the alternates were, if the jury sat in seat 3, 15, and 27 or something like that, like they were the alternate. So it just happened to be where you sat down that day. Anyway, it's different across the board. Now, here's where it gets tricky. So say you are summoned for jury duty and you go and you're like, okay, I'm on this case. And you're going to do your civic duty and you're going to pay a lot of attention, and then bam, you get hit with alternate juror. That would make me so sad. I would probably spend the first hour of deliberations crying if it were a case like this, truly, because I would be so frustrated that I wasn't an impaneled juror. So anyway, if you are an alternate, here's where it gets super sucky for the alternates. You've heard all the evidence. You could go in to deliberate, except you can't because you are now an alternate, which means the deliberating jurors are all going to go off in their room and they're going to get to look at the evidence and they're going to actually be able to talk to each other about the case for the first time ever. They've sat through weeks or days or whatever of trial. Now they can finally talk about it with somebody, anybody else. But the alternates can't. The alternates can't go home and talk to anybody. The alternates can't talk to any other jurors. The alternates, depending on jurisdiction, either have to spend their time out in the wild still avoiding information about the case, and still not talking to anybody about the case, or in other jurisdictions, as an alternate, you have to show up to the courtroom every day. You're still on jury duty, except you don't get to be in the room where it happens. You get to be somewhere else reading a book and not talking to the other alternates you can talk to them. You just can't talk about the case at all. So, just know that if you do get summoned for jury duty, it is kind of like the lottery, and you may or may not end up being an alternate. Here's where the alternates are helpful. If let's say the jury deliberates on Monday and they get to the end of Monday and everybody goes home and no decisions have been made, and it is Tuesday morning, and one of the deliberating jurors gets stuck in traffic or has a family emergency pop up or something like that. Everybody else is in the courtroom, including the alternate jurors. Well, at that point, the deliberations have to reset. Verdict clock has to reset, and one of the alternates gets pulled in to deliberate with the jurors with that same but different jury. That is my best attempt at being a complete layperson, having no actual experience with any of this. And honestly, at this point, I think if I ever got called for jury duty, they would be like, "Oh, you watch how many lawyers on YouTube and you work where?" Yeah, no jury for you. And I truly would be, for a lot of cases, not all, would be the person being like, pick me, put me on the jury, but you're not allowed to do that. So I wouldn't, but yeah, that. So that was week 3. That was a much shorter week than I expected it to be. Let us do a squirrel swoop, because I did go on a few rabbit holes. Then we will wrap up and I will say goodnight and I will let you get on with your weekend. An hour 14. Not too bad. Not too bad for covering a week of trial. Thank you, defense, for apparently throwing 47 monkey wrenches into the plans. All right. Well, thank you all for joining me on this wild ride of trial. Trials are never boring. I have to tell you, even when you start off thinking it's going to be boring, sometimes it is. But it is rare. I'm sure there are boring trials, and I'm sure they just don't make TV. But even this looked like it was going to be a pretty clip, go along, normal trial, and it has had its moments for sure. But I'm very curious. I am excited for closing arguments on Monday. I'm very curious as to who's going to do them and what kind of a tactic they are going to take. And how that fits in with, I mean, the defense keeps misstating evidence. And so I'm wondering if they're going to do that at least a couple times. They might. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's for Monday. So who knows? Depending on how it goes, I mean, next Saturday, we might just have a real quick catch up on closing. It depends on how the closing arguments go. If they are super fascinating and I just want to take the whole night with them, we will do that. If, however, things go off the rails or what have you with the rest of the world, maybe we'll just do a real quick summary and skip ahead into other things. Anyway, I'm over on Threads and Instagram at the Aurora H. White. Comment, you can comment here, you can comment over there. Let me know if, I mean, it's Saturday night, which means it should be time for something new to pop off based on their schedule of this regime lately. But I'm just gonna say, if you happen to come across streamed court case or brain work news thing, any of those, please let me know. If you're like, girl, you gotta see this, I will take a look and we'll gather and chat about it together. So with that, oh my god, do not restart. Do not restart, computer. I'm signing off. Sorry. Battle with technology. Anyway, oh yeah, and you too can look awesome and have a great phrase. And that is at barkslotmedia.com, the Barkalot shop. Anyway, as always, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for hanging with me. We have an amazing community. I love hanging with you every Saturday. Hopefully, at some point, we'll find time to do more. And I think that's everything. I'm starting to buffer in real time, and one of my in-ears is about to pop out. So have a great night. You guys are the best. As always, be well, do good, and remember to bark a lot. I will see you on the next. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Bark a Lot. Follow me on Threads and Insta at the Aurora H. White. That's where I post most frequently between shows. Hit that like button, connect with us, and remember to bark a lot. We will see you next time.